So for the last couple months, there's been lots of leaks and rumors talking about the next generation of consoles, what the Xbox Scarlett and PlayStation 5 could possibly look and play like. And in general, I find this stuff very, very fascinating, but today we actually had Microsoft themselves take the stage to tell us what this will look like, what it'll be, and most importantly, what it will play. What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and I just got done watching the roughly 90-minute press conference of E3 2019 that Xbox just held. Now, I'm just going to say this right up front, I'm not going to talk about every single game they revealed, because there was some stuff in there that just personally I'm not super excited about. Some downloadable content, a really crappy cell phone game, which I don't know why you'd freaking bother with that at E3, and of course stuff like a new Minecraft. I'm not saying that stuff sucks, I'm just saying it's definitely not for me. I want to center my hype on the things that got me by far the most excited, but first and foremost, let's talk about Xbox Scarlett, because finally we have some real details on it. Now they still didn't say a lot, and unfortunately I was personally hoping that they would give us some sort of visual reveal. I was hoping that they would show us a controller or some sort of physical box. I'm somebody that's very, very intrigued by design, so I was hoping that even if it got changed later on, I was hoping we got to physically look at an Xbox Scarlett. Instead, it was just basically developers telling us how cool it will be when it releases in holiday 2020. So essentially what they really outlined was the fact that this is going to be the true next generation of gaming, and part of that is basically trying to open up the floodgates of immersion. Now, a lot of these different developers that they came out with were basically talking about the fact that graphics are just going to keep getting better, but there's things beyond graphics that are also important. They've basically promised that the Xbox Scarlett will be able to do things like play games with practically no load times, which I'm a huge fan of, maybe have up to 120 frames per second, which is double even what the best Xbox One games are doing, and they've also said that it'll be possible to maybe hit 8K. Now, who knows how true all of this is? It may be just a bunch of Xbox lies, but from just taking it at face value, it's certainly very intriguing. Now, they listed off a bunch of technical specifications, but anytime I talk specs, I get details wrong because I don't really know hardware that great. But what they did say specifically that really hit my ear was the fact that they said that this was going to be roughly 4 times the power of an Xbox One X, which to me is a pretty significant leap. But strong hardware isn't worth anything if it doesn't have games to play. So they revealed the very first Xbox Scarlett game, which is Halo. Now, I love Halo. I actually used to do competition Halo back in the day and won quite a bit of money getting those broken pistol headshots. Well, it looks like this game is very much going to be a back-to-basics reboot. Now, the thing they showed was only like a 5-minute CGI teaser, but almost everything was a CGI teaser today. But what I got from it is it does look like we're going back to a Halo itself. It looks like maybe even the original Halo, so we really are going to literally be re-establishing ourselves in this new plotline. Now, I just hope that this game manages to be fun and, well, sort of centers itself. They've been trying so hard to expand the Halo universe and put in all sorts of crazy cybernetic bad guys that we sort of just forget the original fun of fighting Covenant and fighting other Spartans. Now, on the note of talking about cool exclusives, let's also dig into Gears of War 5, which melted my brain. This is coming out this year. It's coming out in just a couple months, in September, and I am absolutely hyped for it. Now, in general, I'll admit it, I'm a little bit of a blind Gears of War fanboy. I think that in general, their stuff is super fun. I even read the kind of awful Gears of War comic books, but still, I think that this is cool because a lot of people were a little bit angry about Gears of War 4 because it was so different. It was safe, it was centered, it didn't really try and do anything daring or really crazy to grab our attention, and it looks like I think that they're sort of trying to go very back to the aesthetic of maybe Gears of War 2. It's going back to being spooky and having lots of cover-based combat, and they actually showed an all-new mode called Escape, which does appear to be something where you're possibly stuck in a completely impossible situation and you have to break out. Like, you're stuck in a base that has evil robots and morphing bad guys and locusts, and they all want to try and consume you simultaneously. So you need to work together with 3 friends to try and bust out. That is the stuff that makes Gears great. Gears is about crazy story and crazy shooting merging together to become a very interesting little experience. Will it be great at launch? Who knows? But I think that that trailer definitely sets a good tone for what the project can be. Now, this was the most, well, first-party stuff that they showed. They showed some other stuff, but in general, now is when they sort of centered everything on the third-party developers. Since Sony wasn't there that year, basically everybody who wanted to try and do a giant third-party reveal, they're probably going to be on the stage of Microsoft, and boy did those people show up. Third-party developers absolutely killed it, starting with Cyberpunk. This game is so realistic and so crazy, I genuinely don't know how it exists. I mean, it has photorealistic graphics, but beyond that, it looks like it has so much choice. We're playing as like a seedy person in the criminal underworld called a samurai. We got blades that are popping out of our arms. But, okay, so what's really most important is that while this trailer was ultra appealing, we have to keep in mind that obviously this is just one person playing the game one way. There is apparently a ton of choice in this as to how you want to build out your personal loadout and your own playstyle. And it looks as if your mentor in Cyberpunk is Keanu freaking Reeves. John Wick, baby. He even walked out on stage to rub his hands together and tell us that it's coming out April 16th, 2020. So yes, it's unfortunate that it did get another delay, but still, I'm hyped by the fact that Cyberpunk is coming out. Witcher 3 is a masterpiece, and the fact that CD Projekt Red is going so much further this next time around is exactly what I wanted. Now, when it comes to big surprises during this show, there were certainly lots of them, like the fact that they basically specifically said that they're going to be buying even more studios. This time they admitted that they purchased Double Fine, which is obviously the makers of Psychonauts 2 and all sorts of famous point-and-click adventures, and they showed that the people they already bought, the people behind Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, their new project is a little bit odd. It's called Bleeding Edge, and essentially it looks like it's going to be sort of an action combat sort of version of Overwatch. It's going to be like a hero shooter, but probably with not a lot of shooting. This does seem like a giant departure from their very small, indie, cool, very, very aesthetic style games to jump over to a multiplayer-only online experience. But I'm going to try it myself. They're going to be doing an alpha pretty soon, so I'm definitely going to try and get into that just to see exactly how it looks and plays. But when we're coming to giant shocks, we got to talk about the fact that Phantasy Star 2 is finally coming to America. They showed it. I'm so hyped. So if you didn't know this, Phantasy Star Online is great. It's like a hack and slash RPG that is so freaking good, but one of the major problems is that for the last year and a half, I think, it's been stuck only in Japan, and it's been very frustrating that everybody wants to play it, everybody wants it in English, and Sega's just basically not decided to release it until now. It's finally coming out in English, and it showed up on the Xbox stage. Now, I've heard some conflicting reports. Some people have said it's only going to be on Xbox. Some people are saying that it'll also be on Switch and PS4. But obviously, I'm recording this right after I watched the press conference, so maybe there's like a bigger press release out there now. So while we're still on the topic of good little interesting surprises, though, we got to talk about Elden Ring. Now, this was actually leaked by my good buddy Spawnwave and Liam Robinson a couple months ago, but this is a From Software project that is being co-written by George R.R. Martin, Mr. Game of Thrones himself. And so the trailer itself was very, very short and ultra Lord of the Rings-ish, but according to the leaks that Spawnwave did, the main concept behind it apparently is almost a Mega Man style in that you will start in a kingdom, you have to defeat a boss, and you get some sort of power before you get to go to a different part of the kingdom, like a fire giant or an ice lord, and you're going to be trying to essentially essentially explore the entire territory and get everything to become the true god of gods. And I am totally on board with that. There were so many things in this that were just tiny little shocks, tiny little things that came out that just impressed me, like a new Blair Witch game that looks surprisingly scary. Battletoads was finally shown, and it's going to have full cell shading as an art style, which is great. There were so many little indie games. There was like a little weird indie game where a guy's stuck in a time loop that's called 12 Minutes, where at the end of 12 minutes, a person breaks into your house and kills you. So there's just so many great things. This is what Microsoft needed to do. I still think that if I had one giant drawback, it still had too much talking. If you're somebody who likes to watch the press conferences, I would say for this one, just catch up on the trailers. They spent probably a third of the time walking in on stage, sticking out their chest and being like, this is the next generation of multiplayer that will become a giant exclusive to the world of all consoles. I don't know why Microsoft does that. Like, you have so many good games to show. Just show them. This was a 90-minute show. You could have done this in like maybe an hour, but I think they wanted to try and drag it out and make it even more illustrious and even more fancy. Even still, it was a thrilling good time. I only talked about the things that really jumped out at me the most because there just was so much that you can't talk about all of it. Dragon Ball Z, all sorts of little stuff. It was just a great time all around, and I'm definitely going to be playing pretty much everything that they showed because it looks great. They even showed more footage of Jedi Fallen Order, which I wasn't super hyped about yesterday. If you want to watch my previous E3 video, I'm going to put a link to it at the end of this, and you can check that out. It was my thoughts on EA. But now I got to get ready because the Bethesda reveal is starting very, very soon. So thank you so much for watching this one. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Oh boy. Oh man, I'm sorry. I was actually salivating just during the recording of this. E3 is here! Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.